Hi, Mike. Good to have you on the podcast today.
Hey Rohit, great to be on. Thanks for inviting me.
That's awesome, Mike. And I'll do some quick intro on my side, and then back to you. So I'm Rohit Mahajan. I'm the managing partner and CEO at Demo and Big Rio Consulting, and very fortunate to carry on this Big Unlock podcast, which is legacy of Paddy Padmanabhan, who was the founder of Demo Consulting. So we are, I think, getting well over 170 podcasts at this point in time, and super excited to have you here today. So would you like to do some introductions from your side, Mike?
Yeah, thanks, Rohit. So I am currently the Chief Transformation and Innovation Officer at United Church Homes. We are a nonprofit provider of senior living with over 100 different properties in 15 states and on 2 tribal nations. That includes about 75 affordable housing properties owned and managed. And
Hmm.
then in the state of Ohio, where we're headquartered, we have 10 owned and managed skilled nursing communities. We have life plan communities, and we also have independent living communities focused on middle market. Um, we have been definitely growing a very innovative organization that I'm proud to be a part of. And that includes sort of a growth more into services,
I
uh,
see.
where we're starting to do programs with CMS, like the Guide program. We have a joint venture with a managed care payer called CareSource, and I really think that really is the future of many senior living providers, is kind of growing from sort of a housing provider to health and wellness providers with housing at its core.
That's amazing. So Mike, would you like to share with us your journey in healthcare? What got you started, and how did you get to where you are at? And what are some of the things that holding in the future?
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, thanks for asking the question. I when I started my career, I kind of like came down to the US from Canada right out of grad school. I got into advertising and but with a first degree in economics, and in economics I became very compelled with the age wave. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think there's anything that's more predictive outside of maybe climate change of future demand, at least right now, than the current age wave. Is kind of like what I like to call it, the anomaly of the baby boom generation. This idea that we had this huge, baby boom spike. I mean, we're sitting here on July 14th in times of recording of 2025. In 2027, we're going to have the most people turning 80 of any year ever, because guess what
Wow.
happened in 1947, right? So we know that somebody needing healthcare services today, so many more people will need it in the future. So why not get in and plan for it? And so being a very naive Canadian, and after coming down here, I'm like, oh, maybe I should just get into the healthcare space because that's easy in the United States, right? Very straightforward. But it really has been very compelling because, I started at AARP. They were a client of mine when advertising, so I got to, and they're the largest
Mhm.
association for older people in the country. And then I moved into health IT with a role at SureScripts, which is the nation's e-prescribing network, and back to
Mhm.
AARP. So I sort of got a taste of interoperability and health tech and all of that other good stuff. And then thinking about applying it to aging and to see how can we support with the labor shortages that we have, with so many constraints, how can technology fill the gap when it
Mhm.
comes to supporting people at scale? And then just through further experience, just I really realized that the clinical care is really not what's most important for the health and wellness of older people. It really is the non-clinical care and functional support. So I've really built up an expertise in social determinants of health,
Mhm.
social determinants of health, risk modeling, and
Mhm.
then strategies to support aging at home. But
I
very
see.
importantly, that doesn't just have to do with care and safety. I think
Mhm.
it's much more effective to support someone's needs when you have true meaning behind it. Because one of my favorite sayings is that nobody takes their pills because they like how they taste. So I'm very much curious and very much a fan of models of sort of more relational care, where we work hand in
Yes.
hand with people to really just work through health and wellness issues by just working it around personal goals and motivations. And I hope that United Church Homes and in the future, that's a model I really want to kind of advance.
That's an amazing journey, Mike. So, given that you have such a deep, immersion and interest and expertise in this area, would you like to talk about some growth strategies for senior living care?
Yeah, I think it's I've had the privilege of working with United Church Home now for almost 4 years, and with it, really to getting to know
Mm-hmm.
the nonprofit senior living industry.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been incredibly impressed because, as I like to say it, we do the most with the least. And especially if you do affordable housing, because for about 30 years, United Church Homes and others in our space have been participating in a program that HUD, Housing and Urban Development, has stood up called Service Coordination and Multifamily Housing.
Mm-hmm.
And they will provide funding for staff to be at those affordable housing properties to really do social determinant assessments on the residents and to
Mm-hmm.
help reduce risks by connecting those residents to local community resources that they may not know about. We also help qualify people for Medicaid and Medicare waivers. But more importantly, we kind of just talk people down off a cliff. And what I mean by that is that if somebody's going through a challenge with their health or with wellness or with aging for the
Mm-hmm.
first or second time, we've been through it hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. So we're
Yeah.
able to tell people what's normal and what's not in a situation and what might happen next. And I mention this because, first of all, that program has been amazingly effective in keeping people, in affordable housing, out of the hospital and out of skilled nursing. We have about 3,800 people in affordable housing, and 3,200 of them are on service coordination contracts. And in the
Mm-hmm.
last 15 months, the number of people of that 3,200 that
Mm-hmm.
transferred into skilled nursing was 50, 50,
Mm-hmm.
and the number of people that had an unplanned hospitalization was 110. These
Very
are
low.
very, very, very low numbers, and
Very
they're
low.
not unlike any other of our peers in the space. So
Yeah.
when I think about growth in senior living, I think about the growth from that really represents this skill set. The
Mm-hmm.
skill set that we have to support the needs of the people that arguably cost the healthcare system the most, people with multiple chronic conditions, people with functional limitations, people that may have social challenges, and we're able to achieve great results. So unbundling that service and sort of representing it on its own, that is a plugin for managed care. That is a plugin for employer programs. That's a plugin for long-term care insurance programs. And I think it's just an amazing value. So I think that the future of senior living is one from transitioning from housing providers,
Mm-hmm.
health and wellness providers with housing at its core.
Yes.
Yeah. I also think, Rohit, that it means that the industry is going to have to get used to transitioning from more of a centralized service
Yes.
delivery model to a
Right.
decentralized one, because now I think the opportunity is to support the needs of those in housing that could never afford or don't want to move into community. So let's say a hub and spoke type of model. I think we'll be seeing more of that in senior living.
That's very interesting, Mike, to know. So just curious, like typically at what age do people come into these kind of facilities? What have you seen over the spectrum?
The
And is it changing? And is that changing?
Yeah, I mean, average age, you can talk about people sort of being in the age. We're getting them older and sicker.
I see. I see.
The lifetime value is going down. And I think that the diversification of business
Yeah.
strategy has to be more towards the community-based model and one where we're serving people just as they're at need. Because, the average time it takes between somebody knowing that they need to move into a community and
Hmm.
actually moving in can be 9 months to 18 months, something like that. And what happens in between?
Yeah.
you know
Right.
so so yeah, I think that's certainly the future, and then we have to have technology that can help,
Yes.
and then the technology both to sort of indicate if we're not
Hmm.
around, like, when somebody may need assistance or need
Hmm.
to talk with us, and then
Hmm.
also for capturing the data.
Right, of course. And you talked about social determinants of health. That caught my attention. So how does that play in your transformation and innovation space, Mike? And what are some of the things that you do, let's say with machine learning or Gen AI with social determinants of health?
Yeah, so social determinants really impacts about 70% of your health outcomes.
Hmm.
I think the stats that I've seen is that clinical care is about 10%, your genetics are about 20%, but social determinants are 70%. And that's
Hmm.
all having to do with the basic things like food and transport and shelter and all of those basic needs. But it also has to do with a lot of other things that impact the way that you engage with your health, your potential to be adherent to your plans of care, your motivation. And that's where I think the service coordination model is so important because it builds trust first and it
Mm-hmm.
designs plans of care around your own personal motivations. Like I want to keep my big dog, or I
Mm-hmm.
want to sit in my English garden every day, or I want to see the museum show next month. These are actual examples.
You're right.
So the model really has of social determinants really has to understand what impacts that. So when we look at social determinants of health,
Mm-hmm.
and I like to call them micro social determinants. The
Mm-hmm.
macro ones are where you live and your education and the resources in your area and how far away the pharmacy is and all those sorts of things. The ones though are about the way that you manage your medical conditions.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a primary care doctor? Can you reliably get to those appointments? Do you have a reconciled medication list? Can you follow your medication regimen? Your functional state,
Mm-hmm.
because I think the math is if you have three or more chronic conditions, you cost the healthcare system about 50% more on average.
I see.
If you add one functional limitation to that mix, it's 330%.
Mm-hmm.
That's about 5% of US patients that consume almost 25% of all healthcare spending. And they do it because they trip and they fall and they go
Wow.
to the most expensive site of care, right? So functional assessment and functional support is definitely part of the social determinants mix. Your
Mm-hmm.
home safety, your home state, your cords, clutter, bathroom, lighting, all of that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
because it impacts the fall, likelihood of fall. Caregiver presence and quality, and then again, your own personal motivations, goals. All of that sort of was what I count as social determinants.
Yes.
And this is the other big thing that I came to know in my career. When I was at AARP, we did a study on health literacy.
Mm-hmm.
And the doctor will see me, for instance, and I've got my graduate MBA in marketing degree, so I'm not a clinician or anything like that. But the doctor will put a blood pressure cuff on me and he'll say, okay, your blood pressure is like 119 over 70 something. And I'll say, is that good? And he'll say, yeah, sure. And I'm like, oh, that means nothing to me.
Mm-hmm.
So health literacy, for the most health illiterate people are people over the age of 65. But
Mm-hmm.
when they're literate, they're the most adherent to their plans of care.
Mm-hmm.
So again, that's what really sort of reinforces the idea of a social determinant model and a relational health model to really break open and reduce spending amongst the highest cost patients in the system.
Right.
And that's what I get really excited about when it comes to data analytics. I don't think we're ever going to get to a place where we can sort of do social determinant care pathways like we do with clinical, like God forbid if I got thyroid cancer or something, they could go to the Milliman database and pull up 10,000 guys that kind of look like me and try this drug first and try this chemo second or whatever, because
Mm-hmm.
clinical care pathways are very set. Non-clinical care, where you have social and financial and environmental and motivational, all those risks, you can
Yeah,
get to that, but maybe we can get close,
I see.
you know?
So in your journey, Mike, what have you been experimenting with or piloting in terms of any new technologies like Gen AI or AI in this space, or any like Internet of Things, like in terms of devices to keep this, patient population safe and risk free? So
Yeah, no,
any,
I appreciate that. Yeah,
yeah.
so at first, machine learning is my top priority for innovation right now. Just what I said before is like, how can we take all the data that we're collecting on social determinants, all the
Mm-hmm.
data on the referrals that we give to local community programs, the efficacy of those programs, all of
Mm-hmm.
those things. We'll know the best home health in the area. We'll know that we just had a situation last month where a woman had bed bugs, and
Mm-hmm.
we knew that Catholic Charities has a furniture bank to help with
Mm-hmm.
new furniture. So how can we take both the referral and the result information, the social determinant information, and model it into efficacy? Because that's
Mm-hmm.
going to be our pathway into managed care programs. That's
I
probably
see.
the most difficult thing as an industry, is that we can't take risk within managed care programs right now because our data game is not strong enough. When we
Mm-hmm.
combine clinical care and non-clinical care, it's kind of like baking a cake and trying to take out the eggs. Like,
Yeah.
what part of it was the doctor and what part of it was us? It's mostly us, but we need a
Right.
data game too. So that's the first thing. And then to
Right.
get that data, we have been trying to engage in chatbot and other sort of engagement activities with
Mm-hmm.
people. I think that we've learned that so far, wherever humans struggle to get other humans to communicate with them, AI chatbot will do worse.
Mm-hmm.
So we've actually gone back to just a text message reminders. Is there anything you need to tell us this week? Blah, 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 blah. I think
Right.
that though, in terms of the technology in home,
Mm-hmm.
I've gone on a bit of a journey with testing things like Alexas and sensors and this and that,
Mm-hmm.
and which has been helpful because I think we've narrowed down the data sets in terms of what we really need to tell if somebody's good, well or not. And I
Right.
think it's really about when is somebody active when they're not normally active?
Right.
When is the activity, more different than others? So I used to start thinking about multiple sensor systems and things like that, but now I saw a very elegant solution the other month that uses kind of an AI chatbot avatar interface along with RFID tags that are put in shoes. 50
Wow.
cents a pop. They're very, versus
Inexpensive.
more complex sensor system. Can I get,
Mm-hmm.
60% of the data that gives me 80% of the information to act on for 10% of the cost? I think that's
Yeah.
there's too much data out
Format.
there. There's too much
Good
data out
format.
there. So that's
Right.
what I like to see. And then, fall prevention versus fall detection,
Mm-hmm.
and anything that really does motivate people around, exercise, engagement, things
Yes.
like that, because that's again, we want to stay ahead of that. And you can see it. You can see it in the healthcare spending. As soon as somebody falls, they take
Yeah.
it, they tumble down, and that's where all the healthcare spending happens.
I see. I see.
Yeah, so anything that helps with preventative wellness.
That's very cool. And you've mentioned broadening clinical care, Mike, to me, and I think you were talking about social prescribing. So tell us what your thoughts are around that and what that means.
I just heard that today, which I think is neat. It's like,
Yeah.
in Canada where I'm from,
Yeah.
doctors will prescribe like national park passes,
Yes. Oh,
as
oh, oh, that's a prescription. Okay.
yeah, yeah, it is, It's like,
Yeah, that's cool.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
where you pop up. I mean, I know like England, has a minister of loneliness for loneliness to talk about
Nice.
and the joke I always say, you may not get this joke. The one listener will get this joke. Minister for Loneliness is not the name of the new Morrissey album. So that's my 1980s joke. So we're seeing things like that, and I think that we're seeing it kind of take off today. I heard a great story on NPR today. Really, I think it's a Kaiser-supported initiative
Hmm.
around social prescriptions. But I think the intent of that model is really more towards really understanding your motivations,
Hmm.
right? I mean, why do you want to stay healthy? Why do you want to stay engaged? I think that what's really important for people as they get into the later years of life, 80s, 70s, 80s, 90s, is to really, really have a strong sense of their inherent purpose in life.
Hmm.
So why do you want to stay well? I want to see my grandkids grow up.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I want to stay in this home here.
Yeah.
I need to be able to take care of the home. The number one reason we have for people moving from this home into another home is home maintenance,
Hmm.
cooking.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's kind of like, as you age, like I got up today, my back hurts a little bit. I can
Hmm.
get stuff done, even though it sucks having my back hurt. But as you're older, as those frictions increase, supportive services from us can decrease the friction, take things off your shoulders, allow you to get back to your baseline, really. But you can't really do that without knowing who you are as a person and what drives you taking your pills every day. If you
Yeah.
start from there and create that partnership and can talk to somebody in the language they understand, like medical speak is there for a purpose. I understand. I can't pretend to be a doctor because I don't know the medical. No matter how many episodes of ER I watch, I can't
Yeah.
pretend to be a doctor. But we need to talk to people at their level, with meeting people where they are. All healthcare is local. All social work is local. And I think that technologies these days have great promise in taking these highly successful local relational models and expanding them. That's what I'm looking forward to seeing.
That's amazing. So as we come to the close of the podcast, Mike, as you glimpse in the future, based on all the innovations and transformations that you're seeing, in this space, what are some of the things that you are looking at, coming our way?
Wow. Well, I'm looking, it's funny with AI right now, isn't it? Because it seems like
Yes.
every 8 months there's like a new revolution and capability, and I
Yeah.
started to be very, very cynical about it, Rohit. It's I'm a marketing professional. My specialty is direct marketing. Then
Mm-hmm.
the consultants needed to get a bunch of business, so he's called it customer relationship marketing. And
Mm-hmm.
I look at AI and I say, okay, that's just the machine learning I've seen from ages ago. It's been around for a while. What can it do?
Mm-hmm.
But then when I really saw AI as pattern recognition, I started
Mm-hmm.
looking further and further into just his capabilities. Like, where else do we find patterns? We find them in nature all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you look at fractals and the way that fractals work, from fractals, the math equations that can create beautiful designs, and you see them in
Yep.
cells and all that. So for AI to know such a fundamental notion about pattern recognition, which is also the basis of so many things that we see in the natural world, where could it extend to next? I don't think it'll ever become sentient.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a bunch of carnival barkery, but just to sort of maybe keep the big players regulated. And but I think that it's got a lot of promise. I think the agentic AI stuff right now is promising. I haven't seen it work properly, but I
Mm-hmm.
think if it can automate somebody requesting a renewal for their prescriptions, or if it can
Yes.
automate the doctor's appointment process, and immediately you have a transportation ride. And if you can reduce those frictions on life that allow you to get back to baseline, I think that's where it's going to be successful. And most importantly, maximize the time that human beings do what they're doing right now.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's where the value is going to be in healthcare is freeing up more time for this.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think the more help we can get from tools like in coding, like we are seeing, even our clients are asking that when you get into a project, do your people use AI coding tools, right? And we are selecting those people who are good at using coding tools because some of them are saying that it can make them up to 100% more productive, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and also I think there's a democratization of
yes,
that's happening with AI, where a lot of the things I'm seeing, it's like almost like everybody is inventing the same thing at the same time
yeah,
everywhere.
yeah,
And it's kind of like how like the light bulb and the steam engine were invented in the same place around the world at around the same time because the adjacent doors opened around innovation that allowed that to happen. That's what's happening now. But unless you co-create with the people that you aim to serve, you have no
yes,
moat around your system.
yeah,
So just the call to action I would have for anybody looking to develop solutions in our space, co-create it with the patients,
yes,
co-create it with the customers,
yes,
because the UX will be simpler, the data will
yeah.
be simpler, and you'll be far more effective selling it through.
Absolutely. And Mike, on that point, please talk to us about, in parting, talk to us about your concept of entrepreneur in residence, because I,
Yeah, yeah.
I thought I talked with you about that and a very successful program. So please share on
Thank you
how.
for bringing that up. I know I didn't have that written down. I should have, but yeah, yeah. So in my position, I get a lot of calls and I get a lot of people asking for advice in the longevity tech, age tech. By the way, I think we should do away with the term age tech. I haven't found a better word for it, but just because you're of a certain age doesn't mean you need
Yeah,
technology.
yeah,
Okay?
exactly. Yes.
Yeah, but I think one of the biggest challenges that we have is change management.
Mm-hmm.
And because we're largely reactionary as a workforce, we don't know what we're walking into every single day. And if you want to create solutions for our space, you need to really fall in love with our problems first before coming up with a solution. And again, as part of the human-centered design, kind of like philosophy, really having deep embedded experience with those that you aim to serve is very important. So what we've done is we have a program at our Glenwood community, which is in Marietta, Ohio, very historic community. We have cottages, we have independent living, we have assisted living, and then about 15 minutes away, we have Harmer Place, which is our skilled nursing with memory care and things like that. So we offer a program that for 2 weeks you can come live with us. And week one is kind of like you formally shadow different job roles and things like that. And then week two is kind of a choose your own adventure. But we basically give you a persona like you are a brand new resident of independent living. Here you are, your persona is this. Walk into the dining room and sit down and feel nervous because no one's sitting with you.
Mm.
Our residents are wonderful. They will sit with you. They will talk with you, but make friends with the residents. See
Yeah.
who they are as people get to their level, and if you make enough friends, maybe you can test your prototype, or maybe you can do user group testing, but it's not going to work unless you fully can embody
Yeah.
and make friends for, you understand? It's not, you'll learn why people don't have time, but also you'll learn what it means to the conditions that makes change possible.
Yeah, you immerse yourself in the setting and then, as you said, pick a problem to solve and then co-create. Co
Exactly.
that
That's
environment.
exactly right. And we've had a lot of fun with it. We've been doing it for over a year, and a lot of people seem to sort of younger people out of New York City, and I think half of it is because they like the thought
Yeah,
of living for 2 weeks in a two-bedroom, two-bath apartment, and a wonderful tranquil setting. But now they're starting to collaborate together and using the experience as kind of a foundational. I just love seeing that happen. So I would encourage any senior living provider to start a program like that, and any
that,
developer to look for those opportunities.
that's amazing, Mike. Thank you so much. This was very exciting discussion and, you know, wishing you all the best for the future and hoping to stay in touch.
Can I
And
make some plugs before we go?
yes, please go
I
ahead.
invite everybody to check out unitedchurchhomes.org to check that out. I believe the email for our entrepreneur in residence program is eir@uchinc.org. And then we also have our own podcast series. You can go to abundantagingpodcast.com and look for the work of our Center for Abundant Aging that really champions ending ageism, spiritual wellness, which we didn't talk about today, and the idea of rediscovering your purpose. That's at abundantaging.org.
Great, great. Thank you, Mike. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Rohit. It was a really great time talking with you.
Likewise.